All right. So today we're going to talk about 5 leadership challenges that are unique to family businesses. And I think it's critical to start by recognizing that 70% of our GDP is tied to family owned businesses or closely held businesses. And most folks don't know that or they don't think about the scope. The other reality is that 35% of the Fortune 500 companies are the same ownership. And that could be a majority ownership of 7 or 8 or 10% is family owned and family controlled. And we know lots of examples of that. So don't dismiss this as a small company problem or a mom and pop dentist or realtor or retail store. Think of it as the biggest economic force in global history that happens in every geography, in every country. And there's 5 challenges that folks have. So I'm going to address them real quick so that you can consider how you might apply some of these thoughts to your family business. And it could be that you're a member of a family owned business. It could be that you're a next gen, whether you're 20 or 50, or it could be you're an owner. It could be you're married in, you're a champion, you're an advocate. And it could be you're a consumer or a client and you care greatly about that local enterprise. So here they are, 5 challenges. Number one, folks need to prove they're competent. People remember Doug as a child when he was 10 or 20 or even 30. But in my 60s, they don't know those skills and competence. And often, next gens need to prove their capacity. Commonly in business, that means they've got to show some managerial skills to maximize the profitability of others, but they've also got to show their leadership capacity to take on a new division or project or an initiative. And often that innovation is a beautiful thing and a threatening thing, which leads to challenge number two. Number two is balancing innovation with tradition. And that's the point I just made. Next gens historically bring innovation. Thank goodness they bring innovation to every business. And the elders protect the assets. Thank goodness they protect the assets. Well, with uncertain economies, and we've always had uncertain economies, today's economy is not greatly different. There are innovations and voices that argue for a certain direction. May or may not be a good direction, but that's a challenge within a family because the family capital is more important. And that leads to number three. So the third challenge out of 5 is managing family relationships. The family needs to get together at Thanksgiving and Saturday night, or whenever you have a family meeting. Birthdays and weddings and gatherings are critically important. And that's called family capital. Family capital is an economic force, it's a social force, it's a psychological force, and it's a way to describe how close or loose an organization is. Psychologists call it closeness and looseness, and there's lots of different ways to measure it and develop it. One way to embrace this challenge of managing family relationships is making sure that somebody leads a family meeting. And it could be Sunday evenings for 30 minutes. And it could be that you rotate leaders so the youngest kids have a role in some activity or task. And people look at schedules or they look at investments or they look at business threats or they gossip and do puzzles together. Puzzles are a very nice metaphor, by the way, of family capital. So the third challenge is managing family relationships. Number 1 was proving your competence. Number 2 is balancing innovation and tradition. Number 3 is managing family relationships. 2 more. Number 4 is making decisions that affect family wealth. This is not a negotiable topic. When people have those discussions about family wealth, they need to be behind closed doors and they need to be private, period. Often, legal advisors and financial advisors pry. Why? Because they want more assets and they want commissions on the end. Always look at the money. Always look at the money trail, how people are compensated. So if family members have a closed door policy and they agree that people are going to speak in confidence about whatever, that will accelerate your family's legacy, however you might describe or define that legacy. And I can tell you scary stories about, but I won't, about families that have broken this need. Please never post on social media about some liquidation or liquidity event or windfall. Then you become a predator or a target for predators. And I'd hate that for anybody. So that's challenge number 4, making decisions that affect family wealth. Has to be behind closed doors. And number 5, preparing for succession at the same time that people are learning to lead. Those of you listening who are parents know that this is a delicate balance. This is what we do all the time. We aspire to have kids who are responsible and independent and contribute to the world. At the same time, we want to protect them, but we can't protect them. Our children don't live in a garden within a castle surrounded by a moat. In fact, they're inclined to open up the garden and the moat and the door and post stuff on digital media that practices what they've been born into, which is digital transparency. So somehow they've got to prepare to lead, and somehow they've got to assume responsibilities for succession. It's not that hard. When our children were young, for instance, we would task them with planning a day in a trip. There are lots of different tools for doing so. When we give them the opportunity to make decisions, whether it's where we're going to spend the day as a family, in this country or this new city? Or what are we going to do as a family activity when we're in that place? Or restaurant do we want to go to for dinner? It's critically important to vary those roles so that the same child is not practicing succession skills, but that they rotate. And a related point to this challenge, we don't always think of in laws as the smartest people most capable of making succession decisions. But my experience is that they are. They're bright, they married into the family system for some reason. Theoretically, their eyes were wide open when they did so, which means they've got a lot of wisdom to offer. So I invite you to not only prepare for succession, but to reach out to those in laws and also the women. Men tend to disregard the voices of the matriarchs and the maybe women who are married into the family system. And we also tend to disregard those who are widowed or out of the family system, divorcees, for instance. And that's a shame because there's a lot of wisdom there. And as families evolve into G4 and 5 and 6, there are now dozens or hundreds of people involved. Preparing for succession while learning to lead is critically important. If you have any questions or comments about any of this, I'm going to give you two resources. One is action-learning.com, which is sort of my mothership website. It's got a lot of links to a lot of free information. And the second is called JIT Coach, J-I-T coach.com, which is a just-in-time AI-assisted coaching tool that all of my clients are loving because they get to practice some of these difficult skills. They'll video record in confidence the conversations they can't do in front of a mirror because that's never proven to be effective. And they can't do in front of a loved one because that often creates conflicts. But they can do with an AI assisted tool that records and provides analysis and feedback and coaching tools. So then when I get with those leaders, I'll ask, so have you used this JIT coaching tool? And they'll say, oh, yeah. And I'll say, all right, show me. If they're willing to show, and they are, because that's what executive coaching is all about, they'll share their screen. And I'll say, looks like you haven't done more than 2 sessions in the last 2 weeks. What's that about? Or you've done 20 sessions in the last 2 weeks. What's that about? I don't really care how many sessions they've done, but it provides accountability for people to practice these leadership challenges. In other words, AI plus humans is more effective when embracing leadership challenges. The future is now. Hope you enjoyed. Call anytime. I'm Doug Gray.